All right, everybody, welcome to Are They Out There? It's Bear here, and it's kind of late at night, so I'm a little off. And we have Stuart McKenzie of Gold Rush with us again. And
Yep.
before we get started here, I just want everybody to know, like usual, you can email us at aretheyoutThere1@gmail.com. Suggestions, whatever you want us to do. Whether it be Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, anything like that. So we're going to jump right into it tonight and talk about the Las Vegas UFO incident again.
Yeah. No. And first, I would like to say is I apologize for the background. Big shout out to my boy Elon. I appreciate Starlink. We're out here, so I'm taking a break. Hopefully, Fred does not. So the show Gold Rush. Fred's my boss, and I'm taking a 30-minute break for myself, so we can kind of do this together. But yeah.
Well, I remember you telling me when you're working out there, you're a few miles away from home base, so it takes them a while to get to you.
Exactly. Yeah. So we got about 30 minutes before he starts wondering where the truck's at. So we're good.
Right.
We're good.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
we'll get going with this. So I did a little homework. I've heard different things, and I Google Earth the area where they said the UFO landed in their backyard. I
Yeah.
found the address and everything. And I'm going to bring that up, and I hope this works out for everybody that watches this. I'm going to bring up the exact location of right where this thing supposedly landed in the backyard. And they say made this indentation. Now,
Yeah.
I'm going to say this is not today's photo. This photo was actually taken by Google Earth December of 2022.
Oh
So,
man.
so I mean, now, do you really believe what they said? Or I know that you and I have talked about this. Tell me what you think, Stuart.
Well, like that's just it. Like, yeah, okay, so you have a family that's like, this is what we saw, and they're sticking to their story. Yeah, I mean, they're not faltering, they're not anything. But at the same point in time, I'm like, is it a deep fake? Yeah, I mean, like,
Right.
because it would not be very hard to go into Google Earth and replace a couple images, and you know what I mean, and to discredit them. And I mean, that would take 30 minutes if that.
Right. And, along those lines, I question why there's been articles that have popped up that the police have put up cameras. Supposedly, they're saying for the protection of the family, because the family fears there might be some kind of retaliation or something like that. But at the same time, is there something else going on? I mean, this is one of those ones where you can kind of go back and forth on it. They seem very credible. Some
Yeah,
of the videos seem very credible. I've even seen some
yeah,
of where people have enhanced their videos on the fence right to the right of them. They're walking in, and you
yeah.
can see something looking through the fence. Now,
Oh, that's weird.
Photoshop, all of that. I mean, we could go total conspiracy, but I wanted to throw that photo out from 2022 so people can come to their
Well,
own conclusions on this.
absolutely. And I mean, like, especially with the AI now, like just the basic AI. This isn't even the AI that we're talking about like in a couple of years that's just gonna be, I mean, like able to make like deep fake, like they can actually make it so like we are talking right now and I can say
Right.
something completely different. They string some words together, they're able to kind of muffle them, I mean, it's not very choppy at all. And videos, you name it, like pretty soon we're not gonna realize like what is real and what's not.
That is so true. I mean, look at the movies today with all the special effects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you can do that right from your home computer, which is great. Well, I can't at the moment,
Yeah,
but
I
you
know,
know,
not yeah, but not even that. Like they're getting to the point now where like even like so I saw this one. I follow this one guy. He does fitness stuff, and what he does, he goes to.
I was gonna say, did Fred find you?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not really quite sure. Yeah, that's kind of embarrassing, but all right. No, so I was watching like I follow this guy, and he busts people out that do they alter their photos for fitness. So they'll pull their waists in, they'll make their biceps bigger. I mean, they'll
Right.
accentuate certain parts, but they actually have now that's coming out, and he just did. It's where video can actually be altered. I mean, while somebody's doing a fluid motion, the program, basically like I want this part to be a little bit bigger, but it does every frame and it does the exact same thing. You know what
Wow.
I mean?
Yeah,
And
that's
it's getting to a
crazy.
point on their phone, on your iPhone, not like a supercomputer or anything like that. Like everybody has the
Right.
power to do this.
Man, it's just getting crazy out there. So let's kind of step back in time to where they didn't have AI and computer stuff. to mess with an incident happened in 1980 in December. Seems like we're on a December thing here. December of
Yeah.
1980 in England in Rendlesham Forest.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is the commander of the base got
Mm-hmm.
involved in this
Yeah.
when this incident happened out there. And I've been reading a lot on it, and I found the colonel's actual report that he had put in January, just a few days later.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, this is one I got to believe. I mean, you and I are both veterans. You know, we serve in different
Mm-hmm.
branches and such, but I mean, it, there are a lot of stand-up people that are in the military. And when you get a
Extreme.
group of guys out that get interviewed independently and all their stories jive, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
you have the commander of the base that gets involved, and then his story jives with everything else. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta wonder what's going on. And if I'm not mistaken, that base had nuclear arms on the base.
Yeah, yeah, no, they had nuclear arms. If I remember correctly, what had happened, and the guy, one of the people, obviously, is before camcorders or anything like that was made readily available, but he had a tape recorder, and
Correct.
so
Yep.
essentially, him and I do believe two other guys were walking through the forest, and they came upon a craft. It was a triangle-shaped craft, if I remember correctly. Set down, had 3 points of contact with the ground, and when they were walking up next to it, it was almost like hieroglyphic. They had like little hieroglyphs that went around all the flat spots.
You are correct on that. And sorry, I'm looking down because I'm trying to find the report. I thought I had it pulled up.
Yeah, yeah, no, no.
And
But so also one of the things that they have, like where they're going while you're looking for that, what they do is like they had the whole thing, and then when they got back to base, they essentially got told like you didn't see anything, that was nothing, this, and this. But the craft stayed for like 15 minutes, and then when they went back out the next night, when within the following nights, they were able to take readings from where they said the craft had been, and there was radiation. And this is like
you're right.
documented where, yeah,
You're right. Let me just read this to you real quick. And sorry, I got to put on the readers here.
uh,
But this is straight from the colonel's report here, and he puts in the early morning of the 27th of December, 1980. Uh, Two USAF security police patrolmen saw unusual lights outside the back gate of the RAF Woodbridge. Thinking an aircraft might have crashed or been forced down, they called for permission to go outside the gate to investigate. The one on duty flight chief responded and allowed three patrolmen to proceed on foot. And if I remember right, the general was at a Christmas party during this time as
yep,
well.
that is what I
Um,
heard.
yeah, the individuals reported seeing strange glowing lights and they were in triangular in shape, approximately 2 to 3 meters across the base and approximately 2 meters high. It illuminated the entire forest, a bank of blue lights underneath. The object was hovering or on legs. As the patrolman approached the object, it maneuvered through the trees and disappeared. And at this time, the animals on a nearby farm went into a frenzy. The object was briefly sighted approximately an hour later near the back gate.
Mhm.
Um, so this is, I mean, this is the actual report
Yeah,
that this colonel's writing. Now, later on, he went out with a Geiger counter, and that's when he went
yeah,
out with the other two patrol guys and his tape recorder. And I don't know what the term is for the readings on there. It's like millitragons or something like that.
yeah,
But everything that was, even the trees that were facing where they saw the triangle shape, they had
yeah,
higher readings, and he would go
yeah,
around to the other side of the tree and it would be lower ratings. So it was like whatever it was produced radiation
yeah,
out, and
yeah,
in the three imprints where they believe it landed in those three circles, it showed higher readings too. It was like 0.07 in the report that I was reading earlier on everything. I mean, just craziness
yeah,
that you would have all these people, especially this high ranking officer,
mhm,
you know, see this. Now, I have a friend who's from England, and she actually used to trample around in the forest there. And she told me that she has seen things, but she also told me that it's a very thick forest now.
okay,
And this she would have been back. Well, she would have been back in the mid '80s, right around
yeah,
there. on that and earlier because that's where she grew up. So it's interesting that this craft or lights or whatever it was could maneuver within these trees without setting anything on fire or basically damaging them by pushing them down.
Well, have you ever now, even like now, right? So we have like drones and they have like so essentially they have sensors inside them where they can fly through trees and whatnot. You know what I mean? So if you're flying inside of a wooded area, it has sensors that are like, nope, can't go this way, can't go that way. So I mean, I can only imagine a civilization that's able to send something that way. They're able to kind of have sensors and whatnot and be able to land. But I always think about this as like, you know, I mean, like, why? You know what I mean? Like, I
Right.
trust me. Like, there's nobody who wants it more than me. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you know, to be able to have a civilization that's advanced to possibly come down and like maybe like tell us like, hey, you guys are about to destroy everything.
Right.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
see, this brings me back to the nuclear option there because there were nuclear warheads, like I said,
Yeah.
at this base.
Yep.
And even in his report I just read, an hour after they saw these lights, they saw lights at the back gate. And this isn't the first time that a UFO, or now they call them UAPs, have been spotted over an air base or
Yeah.
a missile silo or a nuclear installation.
Well, there's one like I think it's at NORAD, and they said that a UAP had came, and then essentially they started having, and these things are supposed to be like there's nothing that is supposed to be able to affect these. Like so, the president has the nuclear football, is able to
Right.
within a couple minutes be able to launch nukes, but
Oh,
they shut them down.
I think you're talking about the case that happened in North Dakota in the
Yeah,
missile
NORAD,
silos up
NORAD,
there.
yeah, NORAD, yeah, yep.
NORAD's in Colorado.
Is it?
Yeah, NORAD's in Colorado. It's the big in the mountain.
No, is it really?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh man. Well, shit. All right.
but no, but I
My bad.
mean you're on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
right
yeah,
path because
yeah, yeah.
I've seen an interview with one of the air policemen who was in almost in tears over what he had saw and how it affected him, but it basically turned on. I think it was 3 silos into launch mode before it shut
Really?
it down. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
that's the story. I mean, and like you said though, you have the nuclear football, you have the nuclear codes, and you have to have 2 people turn the switch for a launch if I'm not mistaken on that, you
Yeah.
know.
No, absolutely. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but I mean, I think there has to be something in it, well, in my conspiracy mind, I guess, with these being seen over the nuclear installations.
Yeah. No, and that's another thing too, is like and whether that being like that is also again, I really wish it was UFOs, but yeah, I mean that it could be China, could be Russia, it could be, I mean, a black site fund that's trying to kind of see what they can get away with. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I know we have railguns, like, there's this one videotape that I've seen, and essentially it was from the International Space Station. You can see it looks like a UFO, right? And it's just kind of going, and all of a sudden it jerks to the side, and there is something that shoots from the ground
Yes.
up, and it is so fast, like it's speed of light. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so people, and at first they're like, I remember seeing the original tapes and they were like, is that a UFO that's like, taking off from Earth? And people are like, no, no, no. Like the consensus is that was a UFO and it was being fired at by like a top secret like railgun or something
Right.
like that. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's funny too. Like you remember the Reagan years. I'm a little
Yeah.
bit older than you, but they started the whole space defense. I forget the name of it. I'm going blank on it. Um,
Star
but
Wars. Star
so
Wars.
you notice that has kind of gone away, right? You don't hear much about that. So what you
No.
saw in that video, could that be part of that
Well,
defense system?
what's even crazier, right? So we have the whole thing with the Russians with it because the Russians are the first ones to come out with like a supersonic missile, where it cuts down the flight time of a ICBM getting from there to us in like a very small amount of time. Where not, but uh, there's like rumors that they've shot a couple into Ukraine and the Patriot missile system or whatever system that we have in place is able to shoot them down.
Right.
So is that really the Patriot missiles, or is that something that is like a little bit more like we don't seem very worried about supersonic missiles. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right. Yeah, and I heard rumor that the Navy now had one of those hypersonic missiles to take out ships
Yeah. Yep.
as well. So yeah, I mean, we could go full blown conspiracy on everything because you're right.
Exactly. I know.
Because during the Iraq War, I mean, with the Patriot missile system, they were missing on a lot of Scud missiles,
I saw that too. Yeah. Or they would hit the
right?
missile and that warhead would still continue on. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So,
Yeah.
but they're taking down these hypersonic missiles in the Ukraine, right? So
Weird.
is it a conspiracy here that we're thinking, or you know what I
I,
mean? We could go
I
all
know.
kinds of ways
You
down a
can't know.
big
That's one of
rabbit
the things that
hole.
you can't, like, that's, I know it drives me nuts. I'm just like, God, you know what I mean? What is that? Is this not like, so back in the day, all right? Like, so I remember in World War II, they had night vision. It was the shittiest, and the red, it was the red, like it wasn't the green. You know, have you seen the newest night vision, or it's white?
No, but I've heard about it. I haven't seen one yet.
Yeah, yeah. So they, I mean, so you go through like kind of the layers and everything like that. Like they're getting close to be like basically where you have like, snowboard like goggles that are,
Right.
like the night vision, but whatnot. But so yeah, so World War II, shittiest version of night vision, but it was night vision, but it was a red lens. And yeah, so that was back, I mean, like I said, World War II, 1940, and we didn't get it released to us till like the mid 90s. You know what I
Right.
mean? So like you have DARPA and everything like that with the CIA and all the contribution. I mean, like DARPA, like if you look at some of their stuff, like that's scary. That's Skynet.
Right.
That is Skynet.
Right.
And they have robots that are straight up just like, can do backflips, and like you push them and they're, yeah. And it's
Dude,
all
I
in, good.
I
Yeah.
saw a couple of those type of robots at the Johnson Space Center.
Yeah.
They had we walked through, I went through the area, took the big tour, like Mr. Tourist here, but where they were testing some of the different things for the next mission to the moon and stuff like that. They had these robots that were there that were all hooked up, and it was almost like it had a Tony Stark thing in the middle that lit up,
Yeah.
but it looked like a man with functioning fingers and
Yeah.
everything.
Well, they
I'm
have ones
thinking to
that, yeah.
myself, it's
Yeah.
close.
Well, they have one up at the space station like that. It's getting to the point now where it can give shots. So like they're starting to do like things where like, so like immunizations. And if you look
Right.
it up, that, yeah, and this thing is like, like they're literally making it so, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not too far away that you can like kind of download someone's consciousness. Like it's getting to a point now with AI, and what they're gonna be able to do is like, the whole like, Superman thing where, like his father's consciousness was downloaded to the computer, and he was able to
Right.
kind of ask him, and he was like, it makes me so happy to see you. You know what I mean? Like all grown up, and it's just like,
Right.
hey, we're not too far off. Like, what is immortality?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just getting crazy out there. One other thing I wanted to bring up, because I know we're kind of limited for time tonight, is owls with UFOs. And I remember quite a few years back, it was supposed to be, quote, a true story, but it wasn't. It was called The Fourth Kind,
Oh,
where
okay.
people were seeing owls at night in their windows and stuff. And
Yeah.
but when they went under hypnotic trances and
Yeah.
therapy, it was actually aliens coming to visit them. And I've been doing a little work on this, and I found a bunch of things that kind of correlate in that sense, not as much as like the make believe movie of the
Yeah.
aliens are
Yeah.
staring in the windows and you're seeing an owl, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a lot of like UFOs and stuff in sightings and the grays and stuff with
Yeah.
owls. So
You
I
know what's
mean,
really,
what's your
yeah.
take on that?
Well, it's funny that you bring that up, and this is, again, just for people at home. This is unscripted, so this isn't like we didn't talk about this or like before this. But I just happened to listen to a podcast probably about, say, like 2 months ago. And if you go and Google and look it up, everyone at home can do it too. I encourage you to do so. There's a guy who has an entire like plethora, like a catalog of people who, uh, as far as owls and UFOs. And one of the things that he talks about is owls, like their eyes. So one of the things that maybe no one knows is that how we can look left to right and our head is still stationary. The reason why owls' heads turn from so many far, like, almost 180 degrees, because their eyes are locked. they can't move their eyes left or right, up and down. They are just permanently like sat in like their body. But also one of the crazy things is that like they did a whole thing where they put them with mice and they put them into a warehouse and let the mice run, and they had it pitch black conditions. They were able to go and get the mice. It's like 70% of the time. If you had low light conditions, 95% of the time. So what they're saying is that owls see things differently, and so maybe they can,
Right.
like how you talk about like with Bigfoot and whatnot, like with portals. Maybe that's
Right.
why owls show up, is because they can see a different like type of a spectrum or infrared.
That's a good point. Now here I'm going to throw out like the conspiracy thing for you with the
Oh,
eyes, right?
let me hear it, let me
All
hear it.
right. So everybody that describes a alien, the
Yeah,
grays or whatever, right, always have the big, dark almond eyes, right?
yeah, yeah.
No eyeballs that move. Their eyes never move,
Ooh.
right? They're always
Yeah,
stationary on the head from every, even back to Barney and Betty White. The
yeah,
grays had big black almond eyes and they don't move. Now they move when the head turns, right?
yeah.
But they never say that the eyes, right? That, I
Scary.
mean, just, you know, do I believe that's the way it is? No, not really. But if you, like I said, you want to dive in that rabbit
Yeah.
hole,
Well, I mean, like,
think
look what
about
we've done
that.
with like, well, think about like what we've done with MK Ultra. You know what I mean? Like the things that we've been able to do, or like, what is that called? It's like, there's a point in time. I remember, what is it? The paradox? No, god damn, what is that thing called? Essentially, where you're able to shave off like minutes, right? And so
Right.
like with GPS and whatnot, like with satellites, if you consistently take away like point milliseconds all the time, you can actually save up like like a couple minutes, and then when you hit those couple minutes, it's a paradox where everyone else around you doesn't realize that thing. It's almost like you're frozen. You know what I mean? But
Right.
everybody else like knows it's happening, is able to move.
Hmm.
Who knows? Time is
Right.
perception. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, look at that footage that I sent to you from that cheap foreign you and I talked about before. He was filming the vineyard and
Yeah,
there was
yeah,
nothing there as it moved in the film. But when
yeah.
you got to that last frame,
What was
there's
that?
something there. But you don't see it
Yeah,
when you play the whole film. Yeah, it's crazy.
I know, no. Trust me. When you sent that to me, I'm like, that's odd. You know what I mean? Like, why would that? And it's just a frame. But then, yeah, you're like, but that doesn't make any sense at all. Like that, and it wasn't like a blank spot. It wasn't like a weird
No.
characteristic. That was a ship. That was a
Yeah.
metal object orb of some sort that was there for.
Like a
Uh,
millisecond or whatever
yeah,
that
yeah,
frame was. I mean,
yeah.
and that was
I
off
agree.
his iPhone. I mean, he's just rolling down, looking at the vineyards and decided to film the
Yeah,
vineyards,
yeah. And then
you
just
know?
bam. That's it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
weird. And like I said, like when afterwards, that's the one I was talking about when I said I was like, no, that there, it felt like something was like on my phone, like as if I had a mirror and I was
Right.
moving a laser around. Like it's weird. And that's when I brought it down to me. I'm like, okay, well, it's almost like a hole in my camera because it was able to go through and then able to go down to my feet and back up. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah. I
Who
mean,
knows?
it goes back to all that. Can they bend time? Is time actually, you know,
What?
consistent through
Yeah.
all these bands? Are we actually seeing things, that
Have you heard the new thing is that they think that there's a possibility that every wormhole has a new universe? And so if you
no,
can
but I've,
imagine a bunch of marbles stacked up on top of each other.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
That, that would be interesting. I mean, I look forward to the first time they send some kind of probe through a black hole
Well,
and
there's this
what
one that just
happens.
happened. Yeah. Well, there's this one that just happened where like it basically devoured a part of a star, and then they were looking at it, and then everyone thinks that as far as like the gravity is so intense that it even grabs light, but then it regurgitated it.
Right.
And so you're like, well, how is that? What? You know what I mean? Like, how is that supposed to happen? But did it happen like alternate universe? Did that happen on one side and then like kind of coincide? And we are just looking up to have the negative come back out. Who knows?
Right. Well, I mean, you've got positive negatives, and they repel each other,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So who's to say that that was a positive charge, but on the other end, there's a negative charge in an alternate type
yeah,
universe or reality that
Yeah, well, essentially they say like in every right now, like I think we talked about this one time. It's like if you shoot a laser and it's at like a crystal, right? And the crystal branches that laser out into 12 different spots. That
Right.
laser is still the same laser, you know what I mean? And it's able to exist in 12 different spots at once. And it's made of carbon, right? We're made of carbon.
Right.
So theoretically speaking, at some level, we should be able to do the exact same. And the only reason that we can't, like, let's say our hand goes to a table, is that our frequency just isn't the same. But if our frequency became the same as a table, we'd be able to pass through it.
Right. Boy, that would be great for weight loss for me, man. I'm
I
telling
know,
you right
hey
now.
man, hey, I know, I trust me, man. We're getting older in years, man. It's not as
Oh,
easy as it used to be.
no, it's coming up on 61 for me. It's not that easy anymore, but
Hey, yeah, trust.
still
I
love
feel you,
everything
man.
I can do.
Feel you, feel you,
So,
feel you, bro.
well, I know we're about to that 30-minute mark, and I
All
would
right,
hate to
all
have a
right.
truck roll up on you and you sitting there on the camera and
Well, actually, if you see me looking off in the distance,
I was gonna say,
it's
man.
because it's because like yeah, no, yeah, the trucker. I'm like, who the fuck is that? You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So we'll see. Yeah.
we don't want to see on TV later on Fred throwing a fit because you were doing
Oh no,
a
I actually,
podcast.
no, I think it's the camera crew, and like I've been watching. I'm like, dude, I'm kind of hidden behind a little bit of a berm, but I can see them. I don't think they can see me though.
Oh, that's
Yeah. So
awesome. That's
we'll
awesome. All
see.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
All
all
right.
right, everybody. Remember, yeah, it's are they out there one at gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts and everything. And then sorry about the short podcast tonight, but we got Stuart up there's got to do what he's got to do, man. So
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
luck, Stuart. We'll talk to you here soon, brother.
Sounds good,
You
man.
take
Hey,
care.
always a pleasure, my man.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.